Well, hi there, and welcome back to Cafe Church. First of all, an apology if you were expecting to start the series on Mary tonight. We've pushed that back a month. Today's actually we're starting a community week in Leaving Baptist Church, so we'll be doing just something a little bit different tonight. I was asked to think of a theme or what we're going to put on special for Cafe Church. And at the time, I just finished reading a book called A Lost Storyteller, and I'd started reading a book called Storyteller, and funnily enough. Storyteller was written by Dave Grohl, probably know him as the songwriter and guitarist within Foo Fighters or the drummer from Nirvana. And anyway, it just came to my mind that, songs and stories go together. So at church tonight, we'll be doing stories and songs, and hopefully we'll get stories from some of the people who are there. Tonight I decided just to look at some stories about some songs or stories from people who are singing the songs and play a song after it. So tonight we're going to start off with a song by Sarah McCracken called God's Highway. And at the beginning of the video, she talks a little bit about why she wrote the song. Anyway, God's Highway by Sarah McCracken.
I wrote the title track for the album, God's Highway, with a friend of mine, Thad Cockrell. And playing through this song, it was actually a really dark season for me. It was kind of in a fog. And as we were writing, I remember trying to write and express how I was feeling. And Thad very pastorally said, the old spirituals would sing not about where we are in the moment, not my feet are tired and I'm in a fog, but my feet are strong, my eyes are clear. This way of singing ourselves forward, sometimes with tears, sometimes with defiance, sometimes with great celebration. My feet are strong, my eyes are clear. I cannot see the way from here, but on we go. He knows the way, and in His arms He keeps me safe. Fear not, keep on, watch and pray, walk in the light of God's highway. The shadows flee, the valley is deep, but evil cannot conquer me. Your rod, your staff, they protect me. You give me rest, you give me peace. Fear not, keep on, watch and pray, walk in the light of God's highway.
You know, I love the chorus in that song that goes, I'm holding on to you, Lord, you're holding on to me. I just think that paints a lovely picture of that completeness of our relationship with God, us and Him and us, totally protected and held by God, us holding on and Him holding, and just that complete hug, that just complete being part of God. Nextly, we want to look at something by Bono. A few years ago, Bono recorded a film about the Psalms with David Taylor. This next clip we're going to listen to is not from that film, but it's an outtake from that film. And it's Bono talking about death and the fact that death no longer has control over him. The clip's entitled, Where Death Died.
I became an artist through the portal of grief. My mother died at her own father's graveside. As he was being lowered into the ground, she had an aneurysm. I was 14. She left me, but she left me an artist. I began the journey, trying to fill the hole in my heart with music, with my mates, my bandmates. And finally, the only thing that can fill it is God's love. And it's a big hole, but luckily there's a big love. It's like the wound never quite closes. So death is very important. But you know, I went finally to Jerusalem on a family pilgrimage. And I went to Golgotha. And I went to the site where, and I had some time on my own, where death died. And I was like, wow, there it is. That's where death died. And so I don't really believe in it anymore. So it's not it has no power over me as it had when I was 14 years old. And it's, you know, it's unpleasant for the people we leave behind, or if we're left behind. But it isn't unpleasant for the soul to now find its true meaning. You know, we look through the glass darkly, but then we shall see face to face. I wear colored lenses. I can't wait to get them off. I want to see straight. And you know, that's a large part of our psychology, you know, is fear of death. So if you have that dealt with, I think you can get on with life a bit easier.
You know, it seemed appropriate to follow that song by U2, and it seemed appropriate, since his talks were about the Psalms, to use a psalm. On one of their earlier albums, War, they recorded a track called 40. This is their take on Psalm 40, the first 2-3 verses of that psalm. You know, after listening to Bono testifying that death no longer has power over him, it's affirming to hear him sing the lines, I will sing a new song. You know, Psalm 40 verse 3 puts it this way, he put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to the God. This is the new song that Bono is talking about here. Anyway, let's listen to the song 40 by U2.
Beautiful city. Watch out for the traffic and the grumpy riders. Way to pay my footsteps turn. Many will see, many will see and hear. I will sing a new song. I will sing a new song. My Lord, to sing this song. To sing this song. To sing this song. Special night for us, we put it on film. A good looking city. This is for our fathers, Billy, at Notre Dame University. This is for you.
It probably doesn't come as any surprise that my formative years basically were in the 60s and into the early 70s. You know, during that time I was really taken, encouraged, enthralled really by the culture and the music of the times. You know, I love the songwriting and the harmonies of the Beatles, the way that they put a song together, the four of them just coming together as one and creating something absolutely beautiful. I love that storytelling and poetry of Dylan as he moved from somebody who was just a folk singer through his electric guitar period and into even a country sort of period that he was in at the time. And I was totally captivated by that creativity of Jimi Hendrix's guitar playing. Listening to a guitar solo could just transport you to somewhere else. You know, I always felt that music could help me understand the creativity of God. I always felt that all areas of art were important expressions of God's creativity, of the fact that we had a creator God. But for me, I wasn't finding that in church and church music. In fact, you could hardly find any art at all in church at that time. You know, then I came across someone whose album, his first album was reviewed in Christian Herald, which was a pretty traditional Christian newspaper that came out, I think it was once a month. Everyone in the church seemed to get a copy. Finding this review in there. And then I also found it, strangely enough, in the New Musical Express. And then discovered that John Peel was playing tracks from it on his radio show. You know, this opened up a new freedom for me. You know, it gave me permission, if you like, to be me. I could be a Christian with long hair and a love of rock music. But you know, this freedom, it wasn't a freedom to do drugs or a freedom for free sex, but it was a freedom to express myself, a freedom to worship God in a way that was relevant to me and also could be relevant to those around me from the same generation, this culture as I was part of. You know, things have changed since these days, and church, you know, has moved forward. And I'm not saying that church has been bad, because there was a lot of great Christian people around, people whose life had been transformed and who were transforming others' lives. But, you know, I just needed something that was really relevant to where I was. And anyway, this next song I'm going to play can express my thoughts much better than I can. The person that who really opened that way up for me was a guy called Larry Norman. And this is a song called Why Should the Devil Have All the Good Music?
I want the people to know that he saved my soul, but I still like to listen to the radio. They say rock and roll is wrong, we'll give you one more chance. I say I feel so good, I gotta get up and dance. I know what's right, I know what's wrong, I don't confuse it. All I'm really trying to say is why should the devil have all the good music? And I feel good every day, because Jesus is the rock and he rolled my blues away. They say to cut my hair, they're driving me insane. I grew it out long to make room for my brain, but sometimes people don't understand what's a good boy doing in a rock and roll band. There's nothing wrong with playing blues lists, but if you got a reason, tell me to my face. Why should the devil have all the good music? There's nothing wrong with what I play. Ah, Jesus is the rock and he roll my blues away. All right. I ain't knocking the hills, just give me a song that has a beat. I ain't knocking the hills, just give me a song that moves my feet. I don't like none of those funeral marches. I ain't, Jesus told the truth and Jesus showed the way. There's one more thing I'd like to say. They nailed him to the cross and they laid him in the ground, but you should have known you can't keep a good man down. I feel good every day, I don't want to lose it. All I wanna know, why should the devil have all the good music? I've been filled, I feel okay. Jesus is the rock and roll my blues. Jesus is the rock and roll my blues. Jesus is the rock and roll my blues away.
You know, I love some of the lines in that song. Some of them are really quite humorous, but I love that. I used to love that bit. They say to cut my hair, I'm driving me insane. I grew it out long to make room for my brain. And I often used that. Not that I had much of a brain to make room for. It was just a humorous way of putting things, I suppose. Anyway, an artist who's become very important over the last few years is a rapper from East London called Governor B. Born in Ghana and brought up in East London, Governor B is now the winner of 2 MOVO and 3 Urban Music Awards. In fact, in 2013, he launched his own urban clothing band called Allo Mate. You know, but more important than all things to him, more important than all things to Governor B, is the fact that he's a Christian. And in this next video, he talks about how he became a Christian and what that means to him.
My parents are Ghanaian, so I was basically going to church from when I was in my mum's womb, really, and I had to go by force. And I didn't really understand Christianity. I just knew that it was something that was dear to my family, so it meant that it had to be dear to me. So I went to church from a young age, and my parents really drummed in like good morals and biblical living and all that kind of stuff. And even though I didn't really understand it, I just kind of went along with it, and I'd pray to God and stuff like that, but not really have any depth behind it till a bit later in life. And just because of that, I started to get into the wrong crowd on my estate, because I grew up on a council estate, and I wasn't really like a gangster or anything, but you know, like the guy that thinks he's a gangster, but everyone can tell that he's not really. So I used to hang around with some quite naughty people, and they would always do like naughty stuff, but I'd be too scared to do it. And then after it's done, I'd be like, yeah, did you see me? I was there, and all that kind of stuff.
So you're
And then
kind of
be
on
like,
the fringes of
yeah.
a bad crowd.
I was on the fringe. I was always like really cheeky, but never really naughty. So I'd get in loads of trouble at school just for silly stuff, like, don't know, getting into silly fights or calling people names and that kind of stuff. And my youth leader at church found out about how I was behaving, and he said to me, he didn't really give me good youth leader advice, but he just said, look, if you want to be a gangster, then you got to be the best gangster you could be, otherwise you're wasting your time. And if you want to be a good kid, then you got to give your all to God. And like, he kind of taught me about the true meaning of Christianity and what Jesus did for me and stuff. And then I made up my mind. I said, I'm too scared to be a gangster, so I'm just going to be a Christian.
I mean, that youth leader in a way was taking quite a risk by giving you that kind of
Yeah.
ultimatum, wasn't he? So he must have had some insight to your character.
Yeah, like he knew me. He knew me for a few years, so he knew that if he said that to me, it was more of a scare tactic. He's saying stuff like, you can be a gangster, you can get stabbed and you could die and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want that to happen to me. Because those were the things that were happening to some of the people that I knew on the estate. So I knew that if I carried on, I could potentially get into that kind of trouble. But thankfully, I made the right decision. And I think my family had a lot to do with it as well, because we didn't really have much money. My mum had like 2 jobs and stuff, and like she'd come home and proper look after us and cook for us, and then go out again to work. And I just saw how much of a struggle it was for her. So I didn't want to add to that by bringing drama to her doorstep. Do you know what I mean? So I think that was more of an incentive for me to try and get on the straight and narrow, because I knew that it would mean a lot to my parents.
I mean, you say you were too scared to follow the gangster route, but actually there's a huge amount of bravery involved in turning around to that crowd and saying, well, I'm now following Jesus.
Yeah.
How did that go when you started to tell the people that you hung around with about your new renewed faith?
I think about, when I was about 15, I got to the point where I'd been bullied a little bit in school before. So I was at the point where I literally had enough, and I didn't care what people thought of me. So like can you see this gap in my teeth? Before I got braces, like it was massive. Like literally you could fit through the gap in my teeth. That's how big it was. And every time we would get the train to school, like the train announcer would be like, please mind the gap. And everyone would just look at my teeth and start laughing. And I've got really skinny legs as well. Like my ankles are just like, I don't know, stick it up, like proper skinny, yeah? So one time I'm just walking through my estate to the bus stop, and then I just hear, oi, chicken legs. And then I just turn around and they're just laughing at my legs, calling me chicken legs, because chickens have got like proper skinny ankles. So I dealt with that for a few years, but it made me like a stronger person. So when I decided to become a Christian, I was at the stage where, do you know what, people have laughed at me literally for the last few years, and they're going to laugh at this, but I don't care, because I know it's the right thing to do for me at this stage in life, and the people that are my true friends won't mind. So I told my friends, and I think they were cool, but they were cool because they thought it was like a phase, and that would snap out of it. But then a few months had gone past, and it happened. So I didn't go back, and they were cool. But like literally about a month after I became a Christian, a few of my friends, about 6 of us, were playing football in the playground in school, and pouring down with rain, and out of nowhere, a massive lightning bolt struck the middle of the playground, and every single one of us fell to the floor. So like, I was in a daze for about 15, 20 seconds, kind of staggered to my feet, and saw another friend over that side of the playground get up to his feet. But in the distance, I saw a good friend of mine, his name's Izzy. He's just lying face flat in the middle of the playground. So we all ran up to him, and he had like school uniform on, like a blazer, trousers. And he had holes like all over his blazer, holes all over his trousers, and he was just like pitch black. So then that's when we realised he had got struck by lightning, hit his body, and then hit the ground. So the teacher came in, tried to resuscitate him, get him breathing again. They couldn't do it, so they had to call the ambulance. Ambulance came, started like pumping his chest with a defibrillator in the playground, proper scary stuff. And they couldn't get him breathing either, so he had to go to hospital and be put on a life support machine because he couldn't breathe by himself. So just because I had become a Christian like recently, I was very like optimistic and full of faith. So I said a prayer like, God, if you're out there, like come through for my friend, help him out and stuff. And I think for my friends, they were obviously struggling with it as well because it was very, I don't know, it was just like a big shock at that time.
That sort of thing doesn't happen every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think my faith actually helped them at that stage because no one really had a lot of faith back then. So it actually came to be used for my benefit. So I'd pray with them and
Did he pull through? You can't just leave it there. What happened?
Yeah. So like eventually he came back to life and started breathing again. Like it was a proper miracle. Like one of them ones where the doctors can't explain it, his family can't explain it, but it happened. And obviously for me, I knew that I chose to believe that it was Jesus that helped him through. And I think that my friend seeing me pray about it and him being okay was a testament to them as well and the God that I believe in. And obviously people will say, oh, it's just a coincidence or whatever. But I just say, look, there's been situations in my life where it's not always been a happy ending, where I've lost people that are close to me. But I just know that having faith is like a light at the end of the tunnel for me, and it makes me a stronger person, and it's better than just giving up and having your head down in the dumps.
You know, as we come towards, as we're nearing the end of our time together this evening, my one prayer is that you have enjoyed tonight. You have been inspired tonight, or you have been challenged by these stories and these songs that we've listened to. We're looking forward to being with you again on September the 4th, and this time we will be starting our series on Mary, the Mother of Jesus. Please also remember that this week we have Community Week in Leven Baptist Church, with many events going on, such as a barbecue and stuff for kids, stuff for families, just a whole array of different things going on. If you're interested in finding out any more, would like to come along to any of these things, just have a look on our website, levenbaptist.com. If you don't remember that, just go into Google and search on Leven Baptist and it will come up, and you will find a list of what's on, when it's on, and where it's happening. I do pray that we will see you at some of these events. I'm sure it's going to be a good time for all that come along. So please check that out. Now we're going to close tonight with a worship song. This time with I was going to say sung by Governor B, but it's sung and it's rapped by Governor B, and the song is "You Never Let Go." Good night, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Take it up a bit, man.
You're not the only one.
Brighter days are coming.
You're not crazy. It's a battle we all
Better days are coming.
Some fears we all must face.
You know what I'm saying?
We all must go through. And we're in this together.
Just go.
Oh no, never let go. Through the calm, through the storm. Oh no, never let go.
And every high,
every low. Oh no,
you never let go.
Lord, you never let go.
Yeah, I remember sitting on my sofa, tears running down my cheeks, thinking, is it really over? I couldn't really leave my house for a few weeks. I felt vulnerable and anxious and fearful of the future and my lack of understanding. But it's funny, cause even when I felt I was alone, I knew you were on the throne. You still spoke to me in whispers, help me in this time of need. I really need your wisdom, and I'll listen when even when I felt like you were distant. It's like, oh
no, you never let go. Through the calm, through the storm. Woo! Oh no, you never let go. Every high, every low.
Hey.
Oh no, you never let go. Lord, you never let go of me.
I guess you proved yourself time and time again, not like you had to. Little further along and still convinced that I can trust you. Cause wherever I go, you're with me. Wherever I go, through Lord, you see me. In my wins, you were there. In my losses, you are prepared. So why should I be scared? Goodbye to all my fears. It's like I'm running clear, your life, I'm never scared. Cause, yeah, here we go, and we sing it like, oh.
Never let go. Through the storm. Oh no,
You never let go.
every high, every low. Oh no, never let go. Lord, you never let go of
But
me.
I ain't easy to believe in the silence and the grief. And I'm fighting for some peace. And I know joy comes in the morning, so Lord, I pray I'll make it through. Lord, I pray I'll make it through the evening. I can see better days, man. They're coming. Hey!
I can see a light that is coming for the heart that holds on. There will be an end to the trouble
Until that day comes.
I will praise you.
I said, oh no. And every high,
Every low. Oh no, never let go. Lord, you never let go.
I don't know what you're getting through, man. But keep your head up and never give up, man. Cause he never lets go. We got faith until the last day.